One death equals reset in hardcore nuzlocking is a new-ish trend where if you lose a single Pokemon at all in your Nuzlocke, making it no longer flawless, guess what? The run is over. You have to reset. This is kind of like an Iron Man run, but to the extreme. Like playing Skyrim on Legendary difficulty, where if you die even once, you have to delete your save file. This is like the kind of challenge we're talking about here. This is true Nuzlocking. Putting a hardcore back into hardcore Nuzlocking like it should be. I've definitely tried this in Renegade Platinum, like you've probably seen a video already, where I made it very far into the game, with hardcore plus rule sets, which basically makes the hardcore Nuzlocking experience even harder. Is I remove all the stupid noob tactics like EV training and setup strategies and certain broken mechanics. I made it past Gym 8, then unfortunately I lost a Mon right before the finish line and just had to end the run. I've also tried some Vintage White, which is a game that's significantly harder than Blaze Black and Volt White. It's actually harder by a long shot, and I did make it pretty far into that game, but yeah, beating that game deathless would be pretty insane. But now, in this video, I'm going to be doing this in a ROM hack that's quite dated but has had a lot of popularity and time in the spotlight, and that is Sacred Gold and Storm Silver, the ROM hacks from Drayano of Heart Gold and Soul Silver, obviously. Now these ROM hacks, they are pretty dated, but because it's Johto and Gen 4, people have liked it quite a lot. Unfortunately for me, this is by far my least favourite Drayano ROM hack, apart from the Rising Ruby in Sunken Sapphire, but no one cares about those games anyways, screw Gen 6. But yeah, I genuinely don't like Sacred Gold and Storm Silver that much. I think it's really overrated. I also think Gen 2 and even Heart Gold and Soul Silver, controversially, are actually pretty overrated games. Gen 2 had so many problems that just ruined the game. In Heart Gold, it didn't even fix that many of the problems. Heart Gold, I feel, was a game that had a lot of style and a lot of content, but it didn't have that much substance behind it. And some of those problems do carry over into Sacred Gold and Storm Silver. It only fixed some of the problems of the Johto region, unfortunately. But that aside, how far could I get if I do one death equals reset in this game? Now this isn't just any one death equals reset. I will be doing this in Hardcore Plus rule set, which is basically Hardcore Nuzlocke rule set but even harder, because there are a lot of really abusable noob strategies that you can use. In this, EV values will be just removed from the game, so you just cannot gain any by any means necessary. So that does make the game a lot harder by default. Also, all setup strategies are just removed from the game, apart from like really janky stuff like Ancient Power and like Metal Claw with a 10% attack boost proc. Like, they're fine, but Swords Dance, Dragon Dance, even like Harden and Howl, I make a point to just remove them from the game and just make it so I cannot use them, because they really are overpowered, and even like a complete noob can just abuse setup and just beat the game easily without losing anything, so I'm not going to rely on that. It's pure skill, baby, that's what I'm all about. I'm a Nuzlocke enjoyer, after all. So, with this established, let's actually start the Nuzlocke. So the run starts and go pick your starter. Now, unfortunately, this is really cringy, but there's only one option, and that is Cyndaquil. The other two starters are absolute garbage. There is no reason to pick them over Cyndaquil. It's really dumb. This game does have some pretty bad balancing, but it's just how it is. Chikorita just sucks. It literally does nothing. It's worse than a lot of the random wild encounters, and that is saying something. For the first 3 gyms, which is like the hard part of the game, it's almost literally worthless. It's just ridiculous. So you never pick it. Totodile, it's okay. It's not bad. Actually, if you get a really pog Totodile, it's actually kind of solid. That being said, it's not that useful early game, which is the part that really matters. And even then, it's literally Gyarados, but way worse. It's like Gyarados at home. Why would you ever use it? Which means that the only real option is Cyndaquil, because it's the strongest one at Gym 1, because at least then it evolves, and is by far the best one at Gym 2. And it's also good against some of the other gym leaders, so why would you pick it? So yes, you're picking Cyndaquil. It's just really silly balancing here. So the game starts and you just make your way to Falconer and you'll just battle him. This is probably Drayano's easiest ROM hack, so almost all of the regular trainers will just not be an issue to you. Even in 1 Death Equals Reset, most of them are easy enough and you don't really need to plan for them. Most of them are just cannon fodder. The encounters can matter. There's not that much manipulating you can do. If you can get Spearow, then you're very lucky, because that is incredibly useful for Bugsy. And Bugsy is probably the hardest boss battle in this game, I would say. And obviously you're going to get that free Eevee, and you're almost always going to evolve it into Glaceon, because it's just so good early game. It's kind of the meta. You can evolve into Synchronized Umbreon if it's got the right ability and it's got a really good nature for Synchronized, like Impish Nature. You do have that option, but if you don't have other good encounters, then Falconer could be really hard to beat. And you also have the option of going for Shelder in New Barktown, and you can get the stone to evolve into Cloyster, but that means that you can't evolve your Eevee. But Cloyster is incredibly good if you can get it. It's so good. It's got literally 2 amazing abilities. Skill Link, which basically gives it a stab 125 ice move before Gym 1, which basically makes it free Falconer and just destroys almost everything. His other ability is Shell Armor, which is also one of the best abilities in the game. Even with Shell Armor, you usually sweep his entire team anyways, so Gym 1 is almost always free with Cloyster. It's so good. That being said, in this run, I actually delayed New Barktown so I can get Rotom later on after Whitney. You can get your Rotom. So I'm going to delay for that. In that way, I can just get my stone to evolve my Eevee into Glaceon. It ended up being a Modest Nature, so it's pretty good. But you have some options here. Luckily, I got a Magnet Pool Magnemite, and that's actually very solid, because Steel types are really good in this game. But go to the first gym, and with Glaceon, you almost always single-handedly sweep his entire team pretty easily. If you get incredibly unlucky, like you miss several Icy Winds, or you get crit several times in a row, or have awful IVs, or you just didn't get Glaceon at all, if your other encounters aren't good, then you could legit wipe here quite easily, or lose a Mon and just end the run. But yeah, that did not happen to me. So after this, you just go straight to the next gym, and you do get some more encounters, like Guaranteed Geodude. Then you get an encounter in a cave, which is usually a good encounter. And there's really not that much to say here. The trainers are all pretty much cannon fodder. There are the rocket boss battles, which is pretty easy as long as you have something that can counter his mons. He has a coughing that can self-destruct, and that can be a little bit hard to deal with. It can be quite annoying. But apart from that, he's a pretty easy boss battle. I did get a Slack Off, which is actually a pretty crazy encounter. It's got Lonely Nature and has Slow Start, and that sounds really funny to use. Then after that is the next rival battle, and that's a really easy fight. As long as you have something that can counter each of his mons, you should have no issue winning. Like I'm pretty sure the Kadabra doesn't even have an attacking move, it just spams Kinesis, and the Ghastly literally just does nothing. So just have a good answer for Murkrow and Croconaut and you win. Now, all this easy stuff aside, this is the hardest boss battle in the game. Real talk. Bugsy. This is like the big gatekeeper for this game. This is definitely the hardest boss battle in this game, with maybe like, I don't know, 1 or 2 exceptions. And this boss battle is hard because of one mon in his team. Cypher. That thing is just crazy. The fact that he's a Cypher with Technician at this point in the game is way too much power. The fact that his Citrus Berry also makes it really tanky, and I think it's almost literally impossible to one-shot it. I don't think anything, even like Rock-type Pokemon can like maybe Onix. The thing is just an absolute monster, and once it sets up Swords Dance, you're probably going to just wipe. If you have Fearow with above average IVs, congratulations, you automatically win this battle. If you don't have it though, yeah, you're going to be in trouble. Aaron can sort of maybe handle the Cypher, and even then that's really IV dependent and crit dependent, but there's not that much you can do to make this battle guaranteed deathless. There's really not that much you can do. You're going to need luck, and good god did I need it. Quilava is usually the standard lead. Quilava's almost always capable of outspeeding and one-shotting the Butterfree and the Yanma. Unfortunately, my Quilava was a relaxed nature, so it didn't outspeed the Yanma, so I did have to dodge a crit here, which was kind of Pepica, but in this battle you're going to have to take risks regardless. Heracross is kind of annoying, but I got the guaranteed Noctowl to handle it. You really do want to get Hoothoot because you can trade it for Torkoal later on, which is a pretty good trade. The Pinsir is really weird. It spams Vital Throw and its other moves are like Knockoff and Bind. Keep in mind Knockoff is like 20 base power, so Butterfree can just easily destroy it. But once I take it out, this Cypher comes in, and this is just when shit really hits the fan. I'm in big trouble now. This thing is so hard to handle, especially without the right encounters. But okay. Now I know it's going to go for Wing Attack because it's going to see kill, right? So I could switch into Geodude. So okay, I can take a hit from it and beat it. But I completely forgot this thing's going to use U-turn. That actually doesn't make any sense. Like, you would think this would be a really good play going into Geodude because I could just tank any hit from it at this rate and just hit it with a rock move, which will do a lot of damage. Though Rock's Throw can and probably will miss. But no, it went for U-turn straight away. That is really weird because it didn't see kill with the U-turn, so you would think the AI would try to go for Swords Dance, but no, it just went for U-turn straight away, so it basically just dodged my Rock Throw. Now the Cypher's back up, and I've got no choice but to switch into Magnemite, because if it gets a certain damage roll, the run will just end. Magnemite is just not handling this because it's a minus defense nature and it's getting absolutely pummeled. So I had no choice but to switch into Glaceon, and there was a very, very good chance that I was just going to lose this run here, really. But thankfully, I got the full power hacks, and Glaceon with modest nature was able to just deal enough damage with 2 Icy Winds and not miss. It just take out the Cypher, holy cow. Had I gotten hit with Technician Wing Attack, I would have just lost the run. No more Deathless, but thank God we pulled through. That was just so wild. This battle is kind of BS because you barely have anything in the Nuzlocke to handle Technician, Swords Dance, Citrus Berry, Cypher. If I were to do this Nuzlocke again, what I would do is I would save state right after you get your Pokedex, so like the start of the Nuzlocke, and I would just reset the game until I get a Spearow that's not garbage, because it really takes no time for you to get to the Nuzlocke start point to the Spearow encounter. It literally takes you like 20 seconds. And it's a 20% encounter rate, which is pretty good, but it would just be really annoying for you to reset and having to do the whole thing of like going to meet Professor Oak and then going back to Professor Elm. I think like it's totally worth getting the Spearow, because if you do get a Pock Spearow, you just win against Bugsy. You no longer have to worry about crap shooting your RNG or like getting unlucky against a Cypher, so that's what I would do. But this goes to show that even without Spearow, this is possible, though it definitely could have been a lot smoother. So if you've beaten Bugsy, congratulations, because this game is now a lot easier. Because apart from Bugsy, most of the battles in this game are way easier, so that's pretty good to know. This is pretty evident at the Whitney battle. Most people will tell you that Whitney is a very, very hard gym leader in this game. Those people are wrong. They really are. If you know the cheese strats for Whitney, she's actually really easy, and you can almost always beat her flawlessly as long as you get the right encounters, which are basically guaranteed. Now I'm going to go over that in a second. I will say there is one hard trainer that is mandatory, and this is probably like one of the only hard regular trainers in the entire game. This one right before Whitney, who has like level 20 Bibarel, Raticate, with Hustle by the way, in Furret, and I think Lightning. The hard thing is that the Furret and Raticate have like the elemental punches and fangs. Also, the AI in this battle is like completely random, which is really stupid. It's a really dumb mechanic. So they will just use random moves, so it makes pivoting really hard to do. I think I might have had to dodge a crit against this. And yeah, Raticate with Hustle is just so annoying because it won't miss. It will just keep hitting you and just get a free choice band effectively. So yeah, that's pretty strong. But once you beat that, Misty is really easy. Now, you could cheese Whitney with the right encounters, but they're all pretty much guaranteed. As long as you have the guaranteed Bulbasaur, you can pick a Kanto starter, but you always pick Bulbasaur. And as long as you delay your Idzaliya encounter for Spiritomb, those two actually beat everything on Whitney's team apart from the Miltank. So you need to have answers for the Miltank, which I will be going over in a second, but Ivysaur plus Spiritomb basically destroys like almost all of his team. Ivysaur's my lead here, and you could go for Wide Lens Sleep Powder, but, you know, you're probably going to miss because, you know, 50% chance to miss, you know, it's going to happen, you know it is. So what you can do, a really cheesy strat, is Ivysaur will always bait out Body Slam, so you go into Spiritomb, then Spiritomb will always bait out like a status move which does nothing to Ivysaur, or Power Whip, which will do no damage to Ivysaur. So after Ivysaur takes 5 Power Whips, Lickitung literally cannot damage Spiritomb, so you just beat it easily, which is pretty funny. The Wigglytuff can be a little bit annoying, but it really doesn't have any good moves. I think its only moves are like Ice Beam and Psychic, so Spiritomb can handle it. Unfortunately, Use Attract is really annoying, so I just use Glaceon to handle it. Ivysaur and Spiritomb can handle most of these mons, but make sure you bring some good backups just in case you get horrible RNG, which can happen, I guess. So the Wigglytuff goes down pretty easily. Lopunny, you would think Lopunny would be a threat, but no. I actually found out that in this game, Lopunny does not have Scrappy, so guess what? It literally cannot touch Spiritomb. It actually uses Jump Kick, so you can actually use that to your advantage to destroy the Lopunny. The funny thing that I noticed after doing this like 2 or 3 times this particular battle is that if you set in Spiritomb against Lopunny, this will make it so Whitney is very, very likely to switch out, and she usually goes into her Miltank, so you could predict the switch and go for Hypnosis, or you could switch out yourself. The Miltank does have a Lumberry, so Hypnosis isn't always the best thing, but it's something to keep in mind if you want to do some kind of like strategic play. Clefable does come out this time, and Clefable does absolutely nothing to Ivysaur. This is because the Clefable is only attacking moves are Water Pulse and Charge Beam, which is a really weird coverage option. Charge Beam could be kind of annoying, but because Charge Beam almost always does less damage than Water Pulse, because of like in damage ranges, it will just never use it, so it'll just always Water Pulse. So it'll do like nothing to Ivysaur, which is free to just put it to sleep and just wail on it. I think it does a Magic Guard, so Leech Seed probably doesn't work. But yeah, that like she sends Lopunny back in, and I just know she's going to switch out, so I know that because Miltank is like the only Mon left in her team, I could just switch in my counter for Miltank, and then it'll be a pretty easy 1v1. Now, Miltank. This is the only thing in Whitney's team that is... It's not hard. Miltank isn't hard to beat. It's easy to beat. You just have to plan around it quite a bit. A lot of people will struggle against that. I can understand why. It's not the most obvious thing to deal with, but there's a few ways you can handle it in a few different encounters. I go for the guaranteed Torkoal, which you get from the trade in Goldenrod City. It's got guaranteed Modest Nature and perfect IVs. It's really good. Then, if you get Aaron, is an encounter that's really, really good. But if not, you can actually get the free gift Shieldon in Goldenrod, which is really good against the Miltank. Those two, plus maybe some kind of backup rock type like Geodude, you should be able to handle the Miltank almost always, unless you get incredibly unlucky. So that's a good strategy you, the viewer, can use yourself if you're trying to do this. In a 1 Death Equals Reset, or even just a normal Nuzlocke, you can basically just trivialize the Miltank this way. Torkoal is really tanky with its perfect IVs and can definitely take a few body slams, but I use it just to spam Smokescreen, just so I can really gimp the Miltank. Unfortunately, I get flipping infatuated like a ridiculous amount of times. There's a lot of RNG in this battle, but after getting some Smokescreens, I can go into Shieldon, and Shieldon could just tank out the body slams all day, especially with a Citrus Berry. Though Shieldon can't do too much, you can wall it out really well, and what you could do is you could just spam Rock Smash to chip it down a little bit, also lower its defense. But the best strategy is, if you have Citrus Berry and Protect, and the Miltank has lowered accuracy, so it's not even going to hit you that much, you can literally just PP Soul Body Slam, and the Miltank will just not be able to do anything. And yes, people will be asking, Miltank has Scrappy, so Spiritomb isn't the most reliable thing. Once the Miltank runs out of Body Slam, its only attacking move is Rollout, so you can stay in with Shieldon and use Protect, or you can switch in a backup like, I don't know, Bronzor or Geodude, which is what I had. Geodude could just use Protect, So you can stop rollout from getting too powerful, which is a pretty good strategy, and as long as rollout doesn't just go out of control, you just beat the Miltank, and honestly, once Miltank goes down, the battle's just over, because any other mons that she might have, like, I don't know, flipping Statler, will just do nothing to Spiritomb. So yeah, this battle, it might not seem obviously easy to deal with, but if you have the right encounters, it is really easy. You could get a different gift Pokemon in Goldenrod, because you do get quite a lot, but ideally you need like an Ariana or something, or you need some kind of luck. But Shieldon's a pretty safe choice. So after that, you can basically go straight to the next gym. There's like maybe one or two slightly challenging normal trainers, but they're not that bad. Then the next rival battle, and this is really easy, like, you shouldn't be having that much issue with it. You can go like to level 28, and his monster's still pretty weak. Like, you can lead off of like something that can handle Murkrow. Then Elekid is really easy to deal with, any strong grass type can take it. Then you could use your Glaceon potentially to handle the Croconaw. Do be careful of Flail though. But I really don't think you'll be having any issue. Spiritomb actually takes out, like, I think 2 of his mons, which is pretty good. So that's pretty easy. Now Morty is next, and I would recommend that you hatch your Togepi, but you hatch it at the Pokeathlon place, so that counts as like its own area for the Togepi, even though you get it in Violet City. And you can actually do the Pokeathlon event straight away to get Togekiss before Morty, which is really good. I would recommend that. Morty can be very hard. His Gengar is a pain. Togekiss can help, but there is usually going to be some RNG. The fight can be really annoying. I think the Mischievous and Haunter are not too bad, but the Gengar is. If you're trying to do this 1 death equals reset, this is not easy. Unless you have a Mychena. Yep, turns out that if you have a Mychena, you just win. Keep in mind, my Mychena was a Calm Nature, which is minus attack. You just one-shot everything. With Lumberry, it doesn't even matter if you get Hypnosis. You just win the battle. Huh? That's pretty crazy. I even got a critical hit on Sableye. Like, I mean, Sableye isn't even that much of a threat anyways, but yeah, my Mychena just went off. Then the only thing I was left was Haunter, so I just used I could have beaten it with my Mychena, but to meme on it, I switched into Vital Spirit Vigoroth. It literally cannot do anything because its only other attacking move apart from Shadow Ball is Dream Eater, so like, yeah, Vigoroth is just going off on it. But that was a pretty funny battle. I will say I lucked out. Resetting for Poochyena might actually be a good idea for this battle now that I think about it, if you're going to save state and reset for optimal encounters. It makes this fight basically free. Like, yeah, that's actually really impressive, especially from a minus attack nature Mychena. So now we can move on, and there's going to be quite a few new areas and a few boss battles to go. So first of all, we have Chuck coming up. But before that, we can now go back to New Bark Town and get a Rotom. Rotom is a really good mon. Rotom got a buff, and I think Rotom Fan also got a special attack buff, but some defensive nerfs. But it's a pretty good mon that you will want to get. Then after this, we could just go straight to the next gym leader, who I will say the next gym leader isn't that hard, but I did have to dodge, I think, 2 crits in this, purely because I was not playing optimally. I did get sloppy with my planning. Like, I had a quick look at the docs at what his team was going to be, and I just quickly threw together a team in like 1 minute. I didn't plan out everything. I didn't bother doing any damage calcing. I will say that I definitely could have done this more efficiently. I really could have. The trainers in Chuck's gym were like really easy to beat. So yeah, I definitely could have done this more optimally. So what I did in this battle was I led off with the Rotom, and I gave it Wide Lens because I don't want Air Slash to miss, and this is a plus special attack in nature. I assumed Air Slash would be able to one-shot Primeape. Turned out I was wrong and was probably dead to a critical hit Rock Slide. Thankfully, I got the flinch. I mean, 30% chance is pretty good. There's also a chance that Primeape could also use a non-attacking move like Substitute, because the AI in this game is pretty dumb, I will say. The rest of Chuck's team isn't too bad. There is Poliwrath, who was able to surprisingly take a Mild Nature Thunderbolt. Keep in mind that Rotom Fan actually got a special attack boost. That was really surprising, and I was dead to a crit from that Ice Punch. That was actually really dumb on my part. I didn't bother calcing, and but I guess I'm never punished, right? But I beat it anyways. Hitmonlee is next, and you could beat that pretty easily with certain mons. You will have to be careful of high jump kick, because that is very potent. Like Nidoking can switch in on Rock Slide, and I do take this opportunity to set up my Toxic Spikes, as nothing on his team can really stop Toxic Spikes, so it does allow you to stall it pretty well. Spiritomb is really good at taking out Hitmonlee, as it's only ever going to use Bounce. The big mistake was I should have put Protect on this. If you're going to do this battle, bring Spiritomb but give it Protect. That's because Hitmonlee will just keep using Bounce, and you could just keep using Shadow Sneak on the turn that is going to set up Bounce. So you could just beat it easily without taking no damage. I did not do that, and I made this a lot harder on myself than I should have. Hariyama's next, and I don't think this thing has guts. But yeah, even if it did, it wouldn't have mattered because Gyarados just one-shotted it with Choice Banded Bounce. So that was pretty nice. Breloom was next, and turned out this was actually Poison Heal. I never actually knew that. So maybe the Toxic Spikes wasn't really a great idea, and this thing was getting a lot of really annoying RNG in my Executor. It was pretty annoying, and I had to switch out. Rotom was not going to beat this thing, but I knew it was going to bait out Mach Punch. So I had to switch into Gyarados and beat it that way. Thankfully, it was able to outspeed, but that could have gone a lot smoother. Then the final mon is Hitmonchan. I had to have a quick look at his movesets, but yeah, Pelipper can pretty much handle it. With the Toxic Spikes and just spam Protect and Roost, you just Toxic Stall it out and you win. So yeah, this fight was pretty messy, I will say. But, you know, I wasn't really prepared. I was kind of rushing this, so you know, had I prepared properly, I think this fight is definitely easily doable with one death equals reset. But that's kind of the thing with this game. Sacred Gold is by far my least favourite Drayano ROM hack, and I don't really enjoy that much. I don't really enjoy Heart Gold and Soul Silver that much. I think those games are a bit overrated, so it's at this point in the game I start to really get demotivated, which did kind of affect my preparation, which did make me get quite a bit sloppy. But in terms of difficulty, this is probably the hardest. This is like, or at least arguably, like one of the hardest points in this whole run, because now we have the big Team Rocket gauntlets, which can be a bit challenging, especially if you're doing one death equals reset. This is pretty challenging, because some of the Team Rocket bosses that you do have to fight do have pretty strong mons that are not very easy to counter, and there are some double battles which can be really annoying. Thankfully, the ones against the grunts are pretty easy, but you do have to fight all the rocket bosses, and they can be quite hard. Like Protoss, who leads off with flipping Hustle Radicate. Hustle Radicate is so annoying. It seemingly goes for random moves, which is really annoying. It makes pivoting it quite hard to do. In fact, this Hustle means it actually hits like a truck. So I thought Bastiodon would be quite good, but it turned out the thing had flipping Super Fang, so Bastiodon wasn't even a good counter for it. I still managed to handle it, but it wasn't a very good strategy. Wheezing is really annoying. This thing has like Fire Blast, Thunder, and like Sludge Bomb. I think it might have Explosion. There's almost like no guaranteed counters for this. Like Bastiodon would have maybe handled this at full health, but it wasn't, so what I had to do was I had to use my Typhlosion with Flash Fire to switch in on a Fire Blast, which I had to bait out, then the Lava Plume it. Ideally, I would recommend resetting for like a really high special attack, preferably Modest Nature Typhlosion, just so you can guarantee a one-shot once you get the Flash Fire boost. But once the Wheezing goes down, the battle does get quite a bit easier. I did have to dodge a crit against a Skunk Tank, which is kind of awkward because I didn't damage calc it. But yeah, this battle can be really tense. You don't have like too much to handle this team. He's only got 4 mons though. Speaking of Team Rocket bosses, the next one, Ariana, is also really hard if you're not prepared for her. She has some powerhouses on her team. She leads off with an Arbok, and this Arbok has insane coverage. It's got like Gunk Shot, Seed Bomb, and Earthquake. So I use Magneton to take the Intimidate, then Beta Earthquake so Crobat can come in easily. With Choice Banded Fly, I should be able to handle it. Jinx is an offensive powerhouse with really strong dual stab moves, so I had to switch into Ninetales and handle it that way. My Ninetales with Drought, which is actually pretty cool, was just able to come in, outspeed and beat the Jinx. It was quite fortunate. Now this Vileplume was out next, and it turned out that this Vileplume was actually not Chlorophyll, so Ninetales could have actually just destroyed it right here and now, but I never knew that I didn't have Chlorophyll, which is kind of dumb. So I had to do a lot of pivoting plays, but eventually Crobat just beat the Vileplume. And last up is a Honchkrow, and I was able to beat this with Magneton. Magneton is a really good encounter in this game. But after that, you have one more Team Rocket boss battle to go, and this is probably the hardest one. I really lucked out in this. This is a double battle with Riley, and you know how Pepega double battles can be in Nuzlockes. They're definitely something. There's just a lot of variables to control for. This battle goes off to a really scuffed start. My plan was to lead off with Magneton, and then use Protect, which is quite risky, to bait out close combat from Zangoose. Which does end up happening, so this is pretty good, right? But Riley's Absol completely just throws away this window of opportunity, and just, instead of attacking, it uses Swords Dance. Damn it, Riley's Absol, you're supposed to attack. Setup isn't as good in double battles anyways. This leads to Absol just getting BTFO'd before it can even do anything. So we've instantly lost one Mon already. I've got a really bad feeling that Riley's just going to throw this battle instantly, leaving me on my own to fend against two Pokemon at the same time with only one. That always happens in these AI double battles, it's really annoying. It's really sussy. And at the very least, Riley's Lucario seems like it's really strong here, right? It can at least take out one Mon, and could probably take out more. But after taking out one Mon, it also gets BTFO'd. Along with Riley's final Mon Ursaring, which does pretty much nothing really. Leaving me on my own to fend against two Pokemon at the same time. There's 4 total Mons I have to deal with. This is looking really bad. I genuinely thought I was going to wipe here, and it was really close. There's a Granbull. I mean, thankfully, the trainer on the left, I think it's the Rocket Grunt, only has a really weak Granbull. But the Team Rocket boss on the other side has Gyarados plus the Houndoom that I need to deal with, and I've only got Typhlosion. If Typhlosion goes for Lava Plume, I could take out the Granbull and maybe burn the Gyarados. But if I do that, and Gyarados goes for Waterfall, I lose a 1 Death equals reset. So I can't really do that. So how do I do this? Well, I thought Gyarados is probably going to Waterfall, I think. So I switch in my own Gyarados to take the hit, also intimidate both of these Mons. So that works. Then I really don't know what Gyarados is going to do. I think I just have to take the coin toss and just take out the Granbull and play it safe. Thankfully, Gyarados goes for Bounce, which gives me the opportunity to win this battle. Had Gyarados gone for Dragon Dance, I would have probably lost the 1 Death equals reset, 'cause I don't think anything would be able to stop it. So that is very fortunate. Now the Granbull's going down, the battle is back to being a fair 1 versus 1. So at least it's an even playing field again. And because Gyarados is using Bounce, I can easily pivot in Magneton and beat it. I did have to dodge a critical hit Waterfall. But at the same time, because Waterfall wasn't a guaranteed KO at this range, I thought the Gyarados would go for Dragon Dance, but it didn't for some reason, which was pretty strange, but it doesn't matter. I'm still alive, that's what matters. And that means there's only one more Mon, Houndoom, and I could just gang up on it, use Flash Fire Typhlosion for example, and beat it. That battle was really close. I probably could have prepared for it a little bit more. My opening strategy of leading off with Magneton was just a bad idea. I probably should have led off with something else, but yeah, thank God this worked out. That really could have gone badly, but we're still here. And with that, congratulations, because that's like the other only really hard part of the game done. After this, the game goes back to being really easy. as you can see in the next gym leader, Claire, I did pretty much no planning for her. Just bring in a bunch of mons that you think will do well against steel types, and you'll almost always win. Ninetales with Drought actually destroys a lot of her stuff. It's actually got really bad special attack with Impish Nature, but it doesn't matter. Drought makes it really strong with Charcoal. You can just roast a lot of her team. Like, you one-shot the Metang. You one-shot the Steelix also, which is pretty funny. Bronzong, you could deal a lot of damage to it. It does have Rain Dance, I think, but you could always just switch out and switch Drought Ninetales back in to beat it. You could also wall it out with certain mons. You could even like stall out the Bronzong. You could use Executor to leech seed it and just beat it that ways. Once the Bronzong goes down, you pretty much win. Fortress, you do need to be a little bit careful of Fortress because that thing could potentially use Explosion. But apart from that, there's nothing really that you need to worry about. Oh yeah, I did forget that Claire's Magaton had flipping, I think it had Magnet Pool. So I had to beat it 1 versus 1 with my own Magneton, which was injured. And I was somehow able to beat it, which was pretty funny. I don't know if I got a crit or something, but yeah, that was pretty wild. Honestly, at this point in Nuzlocke, I was just not too interested, so I was kind of like impartial to losing. Like, had I lost the 1 Death Equals reset right here, I wouldn't have really cared that much, but it's whatever. Skarmory does absolutely nothing to mons like Magneton or Rotom. So yeah, Jasmine, she's probably one of the easier gym leaders. I mean, she's not as ridiculously easy as Falconer, but she's definitely up there. So with this, we're now firmly into the late game, I'll say. So, time to finish off this Nuzlocke, right? No. I'm not going to make up some dumb excuse like, oh, I accidentally deleted my save data. I just quit this Nuzlocke. I know a lot of you are going to be saying, wait, what? Are you serious? Yep. This goes back to what I said at the start of the video. Sacred Gold and Heart Gold, they're just not my favourite Pokemon games, but Sacred Gold especially is such a bad and outdated Drayano ROM hack. I got really bored of this game. Like, I genuinely just did not enjoy it, and you can actually tell from my last several boss battles, like, from Chuck onwards, where I just was dodging crits because I just wasn't preparing. Honestly, I don't enjoy playing this game that much, and I actually just could not be bothered playing after this. What actually did happen was that I started work again after I started this Nuzlocke. So I wasn't able to play this game for a week. But after like not playing this game for a week, I felt like just burnt out on it completely. And it felt really awkward like trying to go back to it and continuing it. So I thought it would be best to just leave it and move on to more interesting games. I will say, getting it past Gym 6 completely flawlessly, that's still pretty impressive, right? I mean, most of the people on YouTube, they're not doing this. They're not doing this on Hardcore Plus without any deaths, so I still take it. And I have gone over the hardest parts of this game, so if you're interested in this game yourself, you can still use the content of this video to help you. You can still use a lot of the strats, like for example resetting for Fearow and the Good Mychena and the PB stalling strats against Whitney with Spiritomb and Ivysaur and stalling out Body Slam and Miltank. You can still get something out of this video, but I want to move on to more interesting ROM hacks. Yeah, sorry if you guys got blue ball and want to see the rest. Actually, I'm not really that sorry. It's my fucking channel anyways. But yeah, I might revisit Blaze Black or maybe go into something different. I think this just goes to show, this is like no wonder Drayano is remaking Sacred Gold and Storm Silver. And the remakes of Sacred Gold and Storm Silver, they've been really hyped. I think they're supposed to be out by now, but I think they're still in development. But I will definitely be giving that game a good chance when it comes out. It should be very good. I've got really high hopes for it. Maybe after the remakes come out, I can finally enjoy Johto Region and Heart Gold and Soul Silver for once, which would be pretty good. So I hope those live up to the expectations. But anyways, that's pretty much the video over. Yeah. Might not be the ending you want, but it's whatever. So stay tuned for some more contents. I hope you enjoyed the video anyways, and thanks for watching. So, Nuzlocke Enjoyer, signing out.